welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra. Let's begin the show with the headlines first. Water bike attract tourists in Nepal's ancient city of Bhaktapur. Drought crisis threatens livelihoods of Sri Lankan farmers. And people across India celebrate Onam festival. Let's begin the show. In a bid to promote tourism, authorities in Nepal's Bhaktapur have introduced water cycling in the famous Napukku pond built in the 18th century. People who had the experience of pedaling over the lake's surface expressed their happiness that the pond, which was once filthy and odorous, is now clean. And just to ensure everyone's safety, the local authority has made life jackets a requirement and hired a certified diver. Have a look.
Water cycling introduced in the Napukku pond on the way to Bhaktapur Darbar Square is attracting more tourists to get a new experience of paddling over the water. One of the tourists, Rojin Lama, along with his beloved, paddled around the pond built in the 18th century, which came as a new experience for him. He had travelled to Bhaktapur from an outlying district of Nuwakot to tour the entire city, which lately has introduced the recreational activity of paddling on the water surface.
First time हो यहाँ यसरी अहिलेसम्म नि मेरो लाइफमै फर्स्ट टाइम हो यसरी लाइफ साइक्लिङ गरेको पोखराहरुमा देखेको त्यो बोर्डहरुमा अनिपछि मैले हालसालै मिडियामा देखेको भएर अनिपछि आज मेरो जन्मदिन पनि स्पेशल परेको भएर त्यही भएर अनि एकचोटी एक्सपिरियन्स गरौँ भनेर मात्र यहाँसम्म आउँदा त्यही हो त
The Bhaktapur municipality had authorized the operation of water cycling to a private company following safety guidelines. The influx of people has increased significantly as per the operators.
औषधमा हामीले यहाँ परिकल्पना गरेको 50 जोडी हो हामीले औषध चाहिँ र अहिले लगभग हामीले चाहिँ दिउँसो हराङराङै धेरै मान्छे आउनुहुन्छ र धेरै मान्छेहरु फिर्ती पनि हुनुहुन्छ अनि लगभग 100 जोडीको हाराहारीमा 75 देखि 100 जोडीको हाराहारीमा आउँछ दैनिक.
The local body has made it mandatory to wear a life jacket for people who go over the floating craft. Insurance for about 500,000 professional drivers as well as rescuers in case of any unprecedented happenings as a liability of the company. The hybrid of a boat and cycle enables two persons to operate it over water. Having amphibious floats, the cycle-like structure with paddle and handle would not let the structure drown in the pond and keep it balanced.
हामीले भक्तपुरमा बसेर भक्तपुरमै पैसा खर्च गर्ने माध्यम एउटा बनाउनको लागि अथवा हामीले आन्तरिक बाह्य भन्दा नि विदेशमा त यस्ता कुराहरु धेरै हुन्छन् जहाँ समुद्रहरु जोडिएका देशहरुमा धेरै हुन्छन् त्यही अन्तर्गत चाहिँ यहाँ समुद्र नभएको र खोला खाली भएको देश हाम्रो देशमा चाहिँ अब डुङ्गै चलाउनको लागि अथवा तपाईले अहिले विदेशमा गएको मान्छेहरु हुन्छ भने हरेक मान्छेले चाहिँ विदेशमा गएर समुद्रमा गएर मात्रै फोटो खिचेको अवस्था छ. हाम्रो खोलाको फोटो खिच्दैनौ हामी हाम्रो तलाउको फोटो खिच्दैनौ हामीले फोटो खिचेर हाल्दैनौ त्यही भएर हामीले चाहिँ के गर्यौं भने हाम्रो तलाउ र हाम्रो पोखरीको फोटो कसले खिच्छ त भन्दा यहाँको युवा जमातले खिच्छ.
The charge for the water bike is 200 Nepali rupees per person and it has been labelled for a 15-minute ride which generally gets over after taking 2 rounds of the pond. This new recreational activity has further made the pond popular, which previously was unattended and had remained neglected for a long time.
Moving on. The drought in Sri Lanka due to its climate change is threatening the country's summer rice harvest, leading to reduced yields and severely affecting farmers. However, the island nation economy was decimated by its biggest financial crisis last year, which was brought on by a chronic lack of foreign exchange reserves. Have a look.
The drought in Sri Lanka due to climate change is severely affecting farmers, leading to reduced yields and impacting the country's overall economy. The island's economy was crushed last year by its worst financial crisis caused by a severe shortage of foreign exchange reserves. But even before the country's agriculture sector could recover from skyrocketing prices, the rains failed. One of the 63-year-old farmer HJM Sini Virantne was observed cutting through paddy stalks that had turned yellow and been crisped by a drought that had ruined more than 95% of his crop.
ජලය නැහැ. ඉතින් අපි දැන් සල්ලි වලට තමයි වතුර ගන්නත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ලීටරයක් රුපියල් 3ක් වගේ මුදලක් දීලා තමයි ගන්න වෙන්නේ. අරගෙන දැන් ඒකත් ඒ වතුර මේ කෑන් එකකුත් දිනකට දින 3කට වගේ තමයි සෑහෙන්නේ. බීමට පමණයි. ඉතින් අනික් වැඩ කරගන්න ඉතින් ඔය එහෙම තමයි හොයාගන්නේ පාරේ තියෙන ලිං වලින්.
Rice is the staple food of the country's 22 million people and its biggest crop. Sini Viratne's family estimates that they need at least $46 per month for essentials. But with their rice crop gone and barely any seed paddy for the next season in October, they worry for their future. Apart from affecting livelihoods, the drought is threatening water supply as well. Sini Viratne commutes daily on bicycle to a neighbouring store to purchase filtered water for 3 rupees per litre.
වෙනදා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි තුන් වේලම බත්තු යාගෙන කෑවා. දැන් එහෙම කන්න අපහසුයි. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දවසට දෙවේලක් තමයි උයන්නේ. එක වේලක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් තේ ටිකක් බීලා කොහොම හරි ඉන්නවා.
Sri Lanka has so far ruled out rice imports this year. A statement from the President's office said, as regions that have escaped the drought have produced higher yields. Since March, Sri Lanka's economy has slowly stabilized, thanks to an IMF rescue of $2.9 billion, restoring its depleted reserves, taming inflation and strengthening its currency.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Israelis opposed to the government's planned judicial overhaul keep coming to protest in their thousands in Tel Aviv on Saturday, the 34th consecutive week of demonstrations, saying the proposed changes would significantly curtail the powers of the highest court. The government's plan has sown divisions among the Israeli public and even within the military, long viewed as an apolitical melting pot for a fractious society, with concerns about war readiness voiced on both sides of the debate. Supporters of the legislation argue that it reinstates balance to the government branches, while critics say that it removes checks and balances on government powers. Israel's Supreme Court began hearing on Thursday, the first in a series of appeals linked to a judicial overhaul undertaken by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his hard-right coalition, which has set off an unprecedented domestic crisis. The Bajrayana Buddhists, a sect of Buddhists of Nepal, celebrated the annual festival of 5 summer gifts, locally known as Yala Panchdan, donation of 5 things. Buddhist monks walked barefoot around the Lalitpur city receiving alms. They chanted hymns and prayers, and devotees offered alms consisting 5 elements, which comprises rice grains, wheat grains, fruit, salt and money. As a part of the festivities, giant idols of the Pankara Buddhas, an old incarnation of Buddha, are paraded around town, and Buddhist artifacts are displayed in monasteries and households. The festival is particularly celebrated by the Shakya and Baj Acharya clan from the Newar community of Nepal's Kathmandu, Bhaktpur, Lalitpur, Panoti and Banepa cities. The US government's brutal sanctions imposed on Afghanistan are exacerbating the country's financial paralysis, leading to the reduction or even suspension of medical aid from international organizations. As the United States froze billions of dollars of foreign exchange reserves in the Central Bank of Afghanistan, the normal operation of the Afghan banking sector and the inflow of international aid funds have been blocked, and various assistance efforts have been difficult to carry out. In Kabul Children's Hospital, a doctor from the Department of Malnutrition said the United Nations Children's Fund has suspended its grant to hospitalize children for several months. In addition, the International Committee of the Red Cross has also announced that it will stop funding all 25 hospitals in Afghanistan by the end of August. According to the revised Afghanistan Humanitarian Response Plan for 2023, 28.8 million people in Afghanistan require immediate assistance of humanitarian aid, accounting for 70% of the total population of the country.
The Pensioner Association in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir held protests against the ruling administration. They demand increase in their pensions at par with all provinces in Pakistan. The increase in pensions is a long-pending demand of locals. Although the people of the illegally occupied territory have held several protests in the past, the successive governments have only added to the woes of pensioners by denials of fake hopes fed to them on all occasions. We have a report.
The retired government employees and the Pensioner Association took to the streets of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir against the ruling dispensation. The retired employees seemed disgruntled with the attitude of the authorities, who have still not increased their pension amount. They complain the successive governments have promised them an increment in their pensions, but failed to stand by their words and promises.
ख्वाजा फारूक साहब ने और चौधरी शी साहब ने बस ये तो वज़ीर हुकूमत यहाँ आकर हमसे वादा किया था कि हम ये आप सबको पैसे दिलवाएंगे। तनवीर इलियास साहब ने वादा किया था कि हम ये आपको पैसे दिलाएंगे, मगर अफसोस है चौधरी अनवार साहब, आप तो हमारे स्पीकर भी रहे, आप तो हमारे यहाँ वज़ीर भी रहे, आपके बुजुर्गों की भी यहाँ खिदमत है। क्या वजह है हमें बार बार छोटे छोटे पैसों के लिए निकलना पड़ता है?
A time when even the essential commodities like wheat and other means of livelihood are only available at sky-high prices, their demand for the increment in the pension amounts is highly justifiable. This demand by the retired government employees in POK is not new to the authorities. But in such a scenario, when the old retired employees are left with no money with them, a mere pension amount would be a huge relief.
जिस शहर में, जिस मुल्क में बुजुर्गों की कदर न हो, वो माशरा हमेशा तबाह होता है और आप माशरा तबाह करने की जिम्मेदारी आप पे है। इसलिए ये वो बुजुर्गान खड़े हैं जिनकी मेडिसिन इस पेंशन से पूरी नहीं होती।
The stooge administration in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is accountable for the woes people of the region have sustained through several decades. The docile authorities in POK, however, could not gain the well-wishes from the senior citizens in the region. But they have certainly been able to become a hallmark of bad governance among the people of POK.
हालांकि ये गुड गवर्नेंस है नहीं है, बैड गवर्नेंस है, इसलिए कि सारे तबकात इस वक्त सरापा एहतजाज हैं। एक मजदूर से लेकर सेक्रेटरी हुकूमत तक और इवन के वज़रा तक भी जो सरापा एहतजाज हैं, तो ये बैड गवर्नेंस की खुला सबूत है हम इस मौके पर हुकूमत से मुतालबा करते हैं, वज़ीर आज़म साहब से मुतालबा करते हैं कि पेंशनर्स एसोसिएशन और दीगर मुलाजमीन के डिमांड नोटिस पे संजीदगी से गौर करें।
The illegally occupied territory of POK is engulfed in protests. The Pensioner Association and the retired employees have affirmed to hold further strikes in line with their long-pending demand of increment in pensions. However, the stooge administration in POK seems unmoved with the miseries and demands of the employees.
Moving on to India, where devotees gathered in the southern state of Kerala to celebrate their biggest festival, Onam. According to Hindu mythology, the festival marks the commemoration of Vaman avatar of Lord Vishnu and the subsequent homecoming of the mythical king Mahabali. The festival drew people from all across the globe to engage and involve themselves in the 10-day harvest festival, which was incorporated a series of mind-refreshing events like boat races, folk dance performances, rangoli making and many other cultural programs. Kerala, popularly known as God's own country, is located in India's southern part. It has a long and rich cultural heritage that is closely intertwined with its flora and fauna. Annual festivals like Onam bring true joy to the people as it connects them with nature and cultivates fondness for one another. Start with sports events like boat races and tug-of-war, followed by traditional floral designs created by women with fresh yellow flowers to form rangolis. At the same time, men flaunt pulkit art, while temples perform religious processions every other day, drawing large numbers of people for feasts. This is how the 10-day harvest festival of Onam is celebrated in the southern state. Displaying over 20 cuisines served on banana leaves with a series of traditional folk performances, the Onam festival was celebrated with great fervour this year, attracting social media influencers and vloggers from across the globe.
We are very privileged to be here today from North India to South, especially Kerala being a very exotic place, a very offbeat destination. It's been such a beautiful experience up to now, visiting all the cultural heritage, the different places where government is dealing.
The Festival of Cuisines, Onam Sadhya, prepared with 13 dishes served on banana leaves, was widely observed and celebrated worldwide, especially by the Malayalis. On the occasion, people were found standing in long queues with their eyes fixed on the doors of the temples and their hearts full of hope to seek blessings for a prosperous life. Meanwhile, the premises of temples were filled with the scent of incense and the sound of chanting mantras. On the other side, enthusiast groups were busy entertaining crowds with their traditional exotic clothing and captivating dance forms such as Kathakali, Tiruvatira, Pulikali, Kumattikali, Tumba, Talal and Onamkali.
Today being a very auspicious day, so we wanted to celebrate our Onam, our first Onam actually after being married. So in the Sitapudar, Coimbatore temple. So we wanted to start our first Onam being very happy.
Believers say the festival celebrates the homecoming of the mythological king Mahabali from Patal Lok, who, despite being a demon, was generous to people, and his reign was considered a golden era for the people of Kerala.
We have come to this temple for Onam. We have been coming to this temple for ever since I knew. Yeah. So it is always so crowded here, like every year for Onam, it is always like this. And we do this prayers and all for the welfare and the happiness and prosperity of the family and for the well-being of whomever we care about.
Festivals like these serve a greater significance for people of today's generations, as they not only refresh their minds but also help them gain consciousness towards their everyday activities. Apart from the health aspect, the festival is also garnering appreciation and alluring tourists from around the globe. It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We'll be back next week at the same time. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.